And welcome, welcome, welcome to the November Coachathon, where we try to come together once a month. And this is your opportunity to get coaching if that's what you need, get questions answered, get clarity. And I also like to do some sort of a presentation when it comes to mindset, because mindset is something that we all need to be working on all the time. And sometimes we just don't stop and take the time that we need to be able to do it. So this gives you another opportunity at least once a month to focus on your mindset. And I want to start with Ecclesiastes because our presentation today is talking about balance in business, balance in online business, but we need balance in our life as well. And I know some of you may be familiar with the scriptures, but for some reason, this just came up as relevant for this meeting. So it talks about there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to tear down, a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And then I jump over to the last part of this scripture because it just really spoke to my heart tonight. And it says, "So I saw that there is nothing better for a man than to enjoy his work, because that is his lot. For who can bring him to see what will happen after him?" And, if you've ever read the Bible and studied it, you'll know that it's talking about earning money, it talks about wealth, it talks about business, because just in the Old Testament, just about everybody was a business owner. That's how they made their living. And so this really spoke to me today as far as presenting that with the idea of taking the time. What times are you actually setting aside for your future, for your benefit, for your well being, for your health, for your mindset, and how important it is that we do that. So I'm going to share my screen and do this brief little presentation here. And this is a presentation for discussion as well. So if you have something that um, moves you and you feel strengthened to speak out, and interrupt, feel free. You're welcome to do that. So we're going to look at finding balance in online business for 2025, but you also have to remember that when we're finding balance in an online business, you're trying to find balance. It can be balance in the workplace, it can be balance in the home, it can be balance in the community that you're a part of. It You don't have to limit it to the online business, but there's so much about online business that's relevant for everyone that it fits. So we're going to look at 5 steps to finding balance in business. The first one is to define your priorities. The second one is to set boundaries. The third one is to delegate and outsource. The fourth one is to take care of self. And the fifth one is where we'll look at reviewing and adjusting. So, how many of you actually spend time defining your priorities? Do you struggle with that? I know I do. And setting boundaries also. I've learned the hard way over the past 4 or 5 years that setting boundaries had to be a top priority, especially with my health and my limitations on being able to do what I used to be able to do and no longer can take care of. And then, of course, self care. If we don't take care of ourselves first, how can we take care of somebody else, or how can we help or encourage someone else? So the first thing here is the benefits of balance. Some of the benefits of balance would be we can become so overwhelmed that we end up burnt out. And I don't know if any of you have found yourself running around like a chicken with your head chopped off, and in actuality, you were doing too much and causing your body to wear down. And then you end up suffering from burnout, which can bring bad health situations to your being. It can bring overwhelming activities that maybe we make more mistakes in what we're doing in our business or in our life. But finding balance is essential to the success and the longevity of any online business. But it's also essential to the success and longevity of just living a healthy lifestyle. So, in this presentation, we will discuss strategies for finding balance in your online business. So, put me in the chat if you have ever struggled with setting priorities. I know I have. Now, here are some examples. Identify what is important to you in your personal and professional life. Do you do that? Or have you not made it a priority? Determine your top priorities and how your online business fits into those priorities. That's important. We have to rate what we're trying to accomplish in the task line of being able to complete a task, because you don't want to put something as top priority when there's things that are missing that haven't been taken care of yet. That's where we can get confused and disorganized. You can use this information to guide your decision making and setting boundaries. What role has God played in helping you set your priorities? Are you walking your walk alone, or are you locking arms with our Heavenly Father, the Creator, on a daily basis? Are you going to Him first and asking His opinion, asking Him for advice, asking Him for the wisdom that you need to be able to take the proper actions? The next one is drop a me in the chat if you ever struggle with setting boundaries. And yes, definitely, I have always had problems setting boundaries. But it really took a long time for me to recognize that I need to set boundaries, that I need to take time to do that for myself. And I see uh, Sandra has admitted that she's not been making priorities, and Rodney as well. And Sandra says that, yes, she does struggle with boundaries. I think we all do. Sometimes we don't recognize it. And that's what I found this last year, that I had to, no matter how much it hurt me to set a boundary with a loved one, that I had to do it to protect myself, not to harm someone else, but to protect me. So, some examples of the boundaries that we need to make are a daily schedule around your work time, which needs to include when you will or will not be available to the family. But you also need, again, making sure that the family is scheduled in during that time so that they aren't feeling left out. Now, technology can help us to maintain our boundaries, such as using a calendar, using an alarm system on our phone, setting notifications, and using automation tools. But we also need to recognize, like for myself, I don't turn the notifications on my phone because I don't want it buzzing, dinging me or shouting at me every time something's happening. And whatever works for you, but sometimes we can just put the phone on a silent or a little ping when something is happening that reminds you that go ahead and check when you have time, and set that boundary of making sure that I'm only going to check my notifications once an hour, once every half an hour, or whatever the case may be. And then at night, I put my phone on what they call not available mode, because I had people from WhatsApp calling me 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, that people I didn't even know, asking for money. And so definitely I put that thing on that silent thing because there's no way that I'm going to be disturbed in the middle of the night because of some tool that's on my phone. So you want to make sure you're taking responsibility too with some of those tools that we put into our life to help us in the automation process. And we need to communicate our boundaries to the clients, to our customers, to our team members, to our family members, to our friends, and make sure that they understand that we need to be respected in our choices of life, our lifestyle, and honor our request to not be disturbed from whatever time to whatever time, except for emergencies. There always has to be a time when, yes, you needed to interrupt me and you have permission, and we won't get upset about it. But trivial things, need to be set aside until we're available.
Does anybody else overcompensate with setting boundaries? Um, I mean, like go a little bit past, I guess what would be considered normal when you're setting the boundary, like
Give
more
us an example.
authoritarian, like being more authoritarian than I need to be in setting a boundary.
What do
Um,
you mean? Give us an example.
like if somebody forgets to do something or I I had a I forget exactly I think it was Walmart people. I had to call them like four different times to resolve an issue, and I wasn't nice towards the end. Um, I feel like I overcompensated on setting my boundaries and letting people know how I was feeling, that would have been healthy, but I think I chose the unhealthy by, shall we say, soul puking all over this person.
Well, I wouldn't classify that as a boundary, Rodney. I would classify it as sometimes we just become so upset that we forget to give grace to the person that has to do the work, do the job. And if the person, I mean, you bring up Walmart, which to me is a prime example of employees that have no idea what their job is or how to do it. And it's too bad that they're not trained properly, but it's also too bad that they don't choose to go at their job as if they're working for the Lord, as if they're giving 150% in their job. They don't have that integrity.
I
But
actually used to work there.
yeah, but we as a consumer, we have to have compassion within our hearts for that employee. I have an example for a time when I was at the drugstore picking up, I think I was picking up a prescription or something, and they asked me, the teller was really, really rude because I was asking about a prescription that I was trying to pick up and paying for it. And she was something about my insurance card or something, and it was something I didn't understand. She was just being real sharp, real nasty to me, and I was being kind. I was trying to hold my own, and I was just saying, okay, all right, this lady's got something going on that's not working for her today, and I just stood my ground, and I said, well, she wanted to know if I was wanted to get a flu shot, and I said, yeah, that would be great. So she gave me the paperwork, I filled it out, and I took it back to her, and I was just trying to make, kind conversation. And the nurse that came to get me to get my shot, she was having the same attitude, and I think it was like a Fourth of July weekend. And so I'm just trying to be kind and bubbly, and how are you today? I hope things are going well, and just making kind conversation, and the other lady was being real sharp with me. And so when I got into the nurse's office, I was just saying, well, I said, are you looking forward to a really nice long weekend? Because I know that they close the drugstore on the holiday.
Hmm.
So she started talking about, it changed her whole attitude. She's talking about, oh yeah, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that, and all this kind of stuff, and so sometimes it's just things that are going on in their life that they're coming to work with this heavy shadow upon them of their own life, that it rolls over into the customers. And so we just have to just decide, I'm not gonna react. I'm not gonna respond. I'm not gonna bite back. I'm just gonna be kind and give grace. But a lot of times it's just the person doesn't know what to do, and they don't want to tell you they don't know that, or they don't know how to do their job properly. So I wouldn't say being rigid on your boundaries, um, other than the boundary for me was this woman was attacking, but I wasn't going to accept the attack.
Right.
I was going to just give grace and try to find some way to soften her a little bit, and it worked. So I'm not sure. That's why I was asking, what do you mean by strict boundaries?
Yeah. Well, I don't do well around stupid.
Again, that's what I'm saying. That's where
That's the boundary is that's the
we
boundary
have
is stupid.
we have
Stupid
to just give grace, no
stupid
judgment,
stupid
give
people should not breed.
exactly. But that's that our attitude, and that attitude carries over into conversations and people around us, and it attracts more of that attitude.
Oh wow. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and that's why I talk about positive mental attitude, because when I had the called crash and burn of 2021, and COVID 2020, that was the year before my crash and burn, but you had all this negativity stuff coming out through the media, the news feed, the employers, the employees, and everything was coming against everyone. It was like something's got to change here. And then when my crash and burn happened, it's like, what on earth's going on here? Why me? I haven't done anything. What's going on? I was getting ready to retire and live the life that I've dreamed of. And now I'm not
Right.
going to be able to. And that's when I started focusing on a positive mental attitude. And that's when I read Napoleon Hill's Positive Attitude, and Dr. Wayne Dyer's Living Life with Intention. And I was teaching about living life with intention and choosing to have a positive attitude and a positive mental attitude, and speaking positive affirmations, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't, it grit your teeth to even speak a positive affirmation because you're in such severe pain. But it attracts more positivity. And I found by doing that and thinking positive, recognizing when that negative energy is around me, to disperse it, push it away, and choose positivity, more positivity comes. And the people that come in front of me are kinder. Not that they wouldn't have been before, but there's more of the friendly, helpful, like I was in the store the other day, the dollar store the other day, because I had stopped in and picked up some groceries. When I got home, I had bought some Dawn dish detergent, which was very expensive. And I was running through my receipt, and she charged me for two bottles, but I only bought one.
Hmm.
And I could have been severely upset and angry. It's like, well, let's see, now I got to get in the car. I got to drive all the way over there, and I got to bring my receipt. But you know what? With the price of gas, it's worth the $5 that I'm going to get back, you know.
Yeah.
And so I went in, and I could see exactly what the problem was. She's a woman that has those huge, long fingernails,
Fingernails.
that when you're trying to touch a touchpad, you can't use your nail, you got to use your finger.
Right.
And I know what happened. She accidentally did it twice or something. I know what happened after I saw, because I didn't see her hands when she was checking me out. And so I was standing there, and she had three or four people in the line, and I was willing to just stand there and wait, until she got her line down. She was working on this one customer, and she said, "What can I help you with?" And I said, "Well, I need to show you my receipt, because you charged me for 2 items and I only bought one. And so she said, okay, just a minute. So she finished up with that customer. And then the lady behind this customer, she just says, well, you go ahead and take care of her because I'm just going to put my things on the counter here. And, that'll give you time to take care of her while I do that. She didn't have to do that. She could have just, got checked out and waited for the next person to get checked out so that I could end up, in my line. I didn't ask her, I didn't jump in front of her. I was very patient. And those are the kinds of things that were happening to me because of this decision to be positive. And I did remember because I was having trouble with my car. I had gone to the grocery store a couple weeks before that to get groceries and loaded my car up with my groceries and got in my car and it wouldn't start. It was a very hot summer day. So I had to call the tow truck, have it come get my car, take it to the dealer, and I had to get all my groceries, put it back in my cart, push it back up to the store, and ask them if they'd put my groceries in the refrigerator until I could come back and get it later because my car wouldn't start. And of course, they were very kind and helpful with that. So I had been having trouble with my car, and this was like the first time since I got my car back. And even after I got my car back, the day I got my car back, I went to the grocery store and I got a few groceries and I got in my car and it wouldn't start. And so I called the dealer and I told him, I said, guess what? Guess who it is? I just left your dealership. And then I turned the key and it started. So I had gone, stopped at the dollar store to pick something else up that I couldn't get at that other grocery store. And I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to stop here. I just pray that my car will start when I get done. So I was telling her about it. And she said, I'm going to keep an eye out and watch for you. Make sure that your car starts before, when you leave. So when I came back, she said that to me. She said, I even went and checked on you to make sure that your car started when you went to leave here. Now, she didn't have to do that, and that's the kind of reactions that I started getting just because I chose to have positive mental attitude and positive choices in my words, in my thoughts. And that's the one thing that we need to pay attention to is we have 2 ears to hear, listen twice as much and speak less because we only have one mouth. And then think about what we're going to say before we speak. So,
Is what you're talking about kind of like the yellow car syndrome? If you think about yellow cars, you see yellow cars everywhere.
well, that's true with anything though.
Yeah,
It's
that,
not
that
just it's the same with negativity. Look
that's
at
what I'm
how
saying.
much
Yeah,
negativity came about with COVID because people when people are negative, it puts the negative vibrations out into the universe and it affects everybody. But we can choose not to react in that negative manner. That's a personal choice. But when people are doing it and everybody's doing it, then everybody's following everybody else. And that's kind of the same concept. It's I mean, we can call it the law of attraction, but it's really God's law, period. Because positivity, goodness, and kindness brings more positivity, goodness, and kindness. And God blesses us with more goodness and kindness because we're kind to other people. The devil gets into our mind and tricks us and gets us feeling negative and bad and harsh and cruel and evil. More evil comes to us. So it's that truth about everything. It's just we have a choice to make on do we want to get sucked into that or do we not? But it's a matter of being aware, like Ava teaches about being our awareness and responsibility, taking responsibility for, like your example, you didn't take responsibility for your response to that worker, just as that worker wasn't taking responsibility to do the good job they were supposed to be doing, rather than just not, knocking your heads together. You could have taken responsibility and just okay, just take a breath. I'm going to be patient here. I'm going to speak slowly. I'm going to try to make sure that this clerk understands why I'm here and what I need help with. Could be a communications problem. But when we react instantly in a negative manner, it just snowballs. It's just something, and it's part of our mindset that we have to choose to turn on that part of our brain that is the positive part of our brain and get it firing up the way it's supposed to by feeding it more positive energy and rejecting the negative energy and paying attention and recognizing the difference. Does that help?
Yeah, kind of like what I did with I was telling you the story about the government worker that I came
Mm-hmm.
in contact
Exactly.
with.
Mm-hmm.
I asked her, just to set the whole tone of the matter, are you here to try to resolve the issues? And she said yes, and I said me too. And so we had some common ground, and we found a way to make it work.
Exactly. But if you had bolted in there like, I'm just getting sick and tired of being treated this way and I need you to do this and need you to do that, it probably would have turned out different.
Probably.
You know, exactly. Yeah. Because kindness is rewarded with kindness, evil is rewarded with evil.
Yeah.
Which do you want? It's our choice. What do we want?
Right.
So hopefully I mean, I just wanted to get clarification on what you mean by strict boundaries, and I don't think that's what you were talking about. Boundaries, like for me, I have been mentoring a woman who's been in prison. Well, she's getting out in February, so she had a 10-year sentence. She's getting out early. And I've been mentoring her, and she accepted Christ probably about 4 years ago, and she's out on work release right now. But I've been helping her in every way that I possibly can with making sure that she has toiletries, personal hygienes and things that they don't get when they're in there. And now that she's out, she I've been helping her with a program that she instigated in the prison system where she teaches inmates how to crochet, and they've been crocheting stuffed animals that were being delivered to the local sheriff's department, that were being given to the officers to take when they get a domestic call out for comfort for the children involved in these domestic disputes and stuff. And the program's been going on for about 3 years, and now that she's in work release, she's had to set aside that program. But a local hospital reached out to her and wants her to start that program up again. It's a children's cancer hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida, and they want her to pick that program back up again. And so she wanted some photographs that she had sent me of the products that she was producing when she was in the facility. And I sent her what she asked me for. I sent her what she asked me for. She came back on her phone texting me about, ragging on me about, you mean to tell me I've sent you hundreds of photos and this is all that you have? And I came back, I said, listen, I sent you what you asked me for. You didn't tell me to send everything that I had. And because of that and the way she was talking to me, I blocked her, and I decided this is it. And then I have a muscle testing coach, and I was in a session with her, and she was going through my system, and she was seeing this dark cloud, and she was saying, "You've got some dark demons." She says, "When did this start? When did this pain start?" It was about 6 months ago, and that was around the time when this inmate was released on work release and was starting to harass me, I guess you'd have to say. And because of the relationship that we have, when she asks me to do things, I don't want to say no. I don't want to say I don't have time. I want to do what I can to help her because she needs my help. But if you're going to abuse me, it's time for me to say that's enough and step away. And so that's what I did. So to me, that's what I call a boundary. And so I blocked her so she couldn't communicate with me at all until about a month ago when my network got updated on my phone. Her call came through. It shouldn't have, but it did. And I explained to her exactly why I had to step away. And she needs to respect me. And it all is working out. But that's the kind of things that I think when you're talking about a strict boundary, that has to be one that's recognizable and understandable, and one that you're willing to live with. Does that help?
I had to find the unmute button. Yes, it does.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Sure. No problem. Thanks for the question. That's a good question. So let me get back to our PowerPoint here. So we talk about what role has God played in helping you to set boundaries. And like I just spoke about, it's time for us to step up, lock arms, and connect with our Heavenly Father on learning how to include Him in our daily roles. Now, delegate and outsource. So this is where I'm asking if you put me in the chat, if you have ever struggled with when is the perfect time. Now, that's again, we are talking about business, but it's also about life. So if you're a family, you have a family, you work outside the home, and maybe you're running a business as well, um, and you struggle with, so when is it time to delegate? When is it time to outsource? So even delegating in the home can be asking your children to take responsibility to make their beds, to clear the table, to set the table, to do the dishes, because that's jobs as parents, is to teach the child how to be able to live on their own. And when you talk about delegating and outsource in your business, if you've gotten your business to the point where you just don't have the time, like um, sometimes I'll have a conversation with a client where I just don't have time to post all this content on Facebook or on social media all the time. Well, maybe it's time for you to find an assistant to help do that for you. And I know Rodney mentioned AI a little bit ago. AI is a great tool. Why are we not using AI to help us to limit the amount of time we have to do on research or creating content when we can actually access that in our business? And I see Rodney had dropped the me and him in the chat about struggling with when is the perfect time to let go and delegate. So the thing that we'll have to do in our businesses is we need to identify those tasks that are not essential to your core business and consider delegating or outsourcing them. But again, when you're talking about trying to build a business as a solopreneur, uh, social media content is an essential piece of your business, especially if you're trying to build your business organically. Do you really want to outsource it? Do you think you can trust somebody enough with that to be able to do what you need done the way that you would have done it? So there are things to consider when you're thinking about hiring a virtual assistant or a freelancer to take on the administrative or repetitive tasks. It's not a quick fix. It's something that has to be thought about. It's something that has to um, be researched to make sure that you're not putting yourself at risk. I had a book author that I had spoken to a few years ago who had a virtual assistant that was helping her set up her. She was teaching people how to self-publish, how to write a book and self-publish. She had a course that she was launching, and she had a virtual assistant setting up her platform where the course was being housed, and she discovered that assistant was actually got into her accounts, hacked her accounts, and was stealing some of her content. So you have to be very careful on who you hire and what abilities you give that person to access that could put you at risk. And then using the tools like project management software to streamline your workflow and delegate tasks to others. But I also say learning how to use your tools that you already have in your hand can help you manage your schedules, like your calendar, your alarm system on your phone, and use that tool to help keep you on task. Because if you're sitting there and saying, I'm going to work on this project for 30 minutes, and then you start working, and next thing you know, it's 2 hours later, you've got a schedule mishap when all you had to do was turn that timer on. So when that timer goes off, then you stop what you're doing and go to that next task and continue on with your day, so that by the end of the day, you have completed what needed to be done for that day instead of just one of the many tasks that you started out. And again, the question is asked, what role has God played in helping you to decide, is it time? That the Lord will show you it's time for you to bring on board a team. It's time for you to find an investor. It's time for you to get going on this business because it's going to stall out if you don't. Now, this is a very important piece that many people forget about and neglect. Take care of you. So put me in the chat if you've ever struggled with committing to you. And as many of you know, with my crash and burn of 2021, I had to start taking care of me because I had no choice and I had to let everything else go for a while. And sadly, you know, things have worked out, but it's been a very long road with my health because I didn't take care of me prior to the crash. And during the crash, it was, you know, even more time had to be spent taking care of me to come back. So here are some examples on how to take care of you. Prioritize your self-care. Make sure you get plenty of sleep. Make sure you're exercising and make sure you're eating healthy. And when I talk about eating healthy, make sure you're eating those foods that are the natural foods that God created that are supposed to neutralize your body in a healthy way so that your body can function the way that He created it to function. Many times I hear of people complaining about they've got ulcerative colitis or they've got something going on in their body. It's a health problem. But when you look at their diet, here they've been eating French fries and fried foods and sweets and sugars and pastries for most of their life. No wonder they have disease in their body because disease doesn't come from God, disease comes from Satan. But if you don't feed your body the proper way, the body can't be nutritionally well. It breaks down. And if we don't give it exercise, if we just spend time moving from a chair to a car to another chair to a car to another chair and we aren't getting any exercise, that's harming our body as well. And then some people that they just don't stop and take that rest maybe during the day when their body really needs to rest. They don't do it. It harms the body and the body can't function properly, and then they wonder why they can't get things done. You know, make sure we're taking breaks, make sure we take time off and get recharged and avoid burnout. I think it's very important that we pay attention if we're on the edge of burnout, because if we're getting those warning signs of burnout, we're not doing anything, there's really going to be a major problem. I've got a friend that she's a nurse and she works two jobs actually. She works during the week and then she has patients that she takes care of on the weekends. So she works 7 days a week. She doesn't take any time off. She doesn't go anywhere on the weekends. She's just constantly working. And then she's building a business, an online business, that she's got her hands in 5 or 6 different opportunities that she's trying to build at the same time. And I just got a message from her that she had hurt her wrist. Something was wrong with her wrist. She couldn't figure out why. She might have picked up a patient wrong, or she might have got her wrist caught between the patient and the desk or something. Now she found out she has a broken hand. So she's got to now stop and take time for herself. So if we don't stop and take that time for ourselves, these are the things that are going to come up. If I had in my younger years paid more attention to eating healthier foods, I don't think I would have had bone loss. But because I wasn't, and then with 2020, not getting outside and getting the sun like I used to all the time, I didn't get the proper vitamin D and my bones started deteriorating. So it's just we have to be thinking about our bodies and what we need to do to take care of them. And also meditation, it's very important that we pay attention to what are our thoughts? What are we thinking about? Is it lifting us up or is it tearing us down? And find some peaceful meditations that work for us and reduce that stress and ways that we can increase our focus. And I know that I have discovered that because I've been doing a lot of reading, that by me doing all this reading, my mind is capturing things and reminding me of something that I might be working on that is relevant to a book that I read last year, and it'll come to my mind that, oh, yeah, that's right, I remember that. So my mind is getting better, where people think as you get older, your mind gets worse, but mine's getting better. I went back to school in 2015, and I got my master's degree. And when I went back to school, studying was easy. It was easier than it was when I was in high school. So as we get older, our minds should be getting better. And then again, the questioning of yourself is, what role has God played in your helping you to commit to self-care? Are you meditating on His word? Are you spending time with Him? Are you asking for His help in whatever you're doing? Now, we'll just review real quick and adjust. So as you go through your, I say 2024, and ask yourself these questions that we had in this presentation, what do you see that needs to be changed? And then as you're working through your business in 2025, make sure you're regularly reviewing your priorities, reviewing your boundaries, and changing them as they need to be changed. And give yourself permission to change that goal if it's becoming stressful for you to be trying to reach it. Make sure that you bring that goal to something that is achievable in what you're doing as a piece of that overall goal that you want to actually end up with at the end. And watch your self care. Make sure that you're taking time for yourself. Make sure you're preparing healthy meals. Make sure you're quietly sitting and eating your meal and enjoying your meal, and not sitting at your desk working on your computer having your meals, that you're actually enjoying the foods that you're eating, so that you will be able to continue to do your work. And then again, make sure you always adjust as necessary to find the right balance for your business and your life. And that's why we always highly recommend that we go through our business plan every quarter, review what we've done the first quarter before, the month before, and make those changes to help the flow to reach that goal that you've made. And then finding balance in your online business is essential to its success as well as your well-being. And as you define your priorities, as you set boundaries, as you delegate the tasks that you can delegate, taking care of yourself and regularly reviewing and adjusting, you can achieve a healthy balance in your online business as well as in your life. So thank you so much for being here tonight, and I appreciate all of your support, and hope that you have found great value in this discussion. And it's always a pleasure to sit with y'all, and we really had some good discussion tonight. And if anybody else has something they wanted to bring up before we go, I'd be happy to help clarify anything or brainstorm whatever you need. Sandra, you lit up. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm good. I can't think of anything that I haven't mentioned. The questions that you posed earlier in the meeting, who has problems with this and that, and I identified. I know that in the past, setting priorities, and it's still a little bit of a challenge, is a
Mm,
for me because I am an information junkie, so I'm
mm,
looking for knowledge, and then once I find something that looks interesting, I'm heading down that path, that rabbit hole. So I tend, and most of the time, you don't always identify something that I would want to incorporate into my life, and before you know it, it's like, geez, you have so many things that you want to do, that it becomes a challenge to get to get all of them done. So prioritizing, what do you really want is I guess for me you have to say a constant challenge or a constant not necessarily a challenge, but certainly something that you constantly have to have taking the temperature, and see where you are with that.
Yeah.
Because to put it as a challenge, and like we talked, not necessarily on point regarding mindset, but we did talk about mindset as part of the conversation. And if you look at something as a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge, but if you look at it as something that just warrants just being aware of it, keeping or taking your temperature, taking your temperature of it gives the mindset, well, no, this is something that it's not out of bounds. It's just, just need to take my temperature and make sure that everything is as they should be,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
that's
pay attention. Yeah,
you know,
and adjust as you need to. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it was interesting. I was in a session with Brian Walsh last week, and he said something profound that just kind of, it was like a bucket of ice water thrown on my face. I love learning as well. I don't think I'll ever stop learning. But he
Mm-mm.
says learning can be procrastination. He says
Yes.
busy learning, learning, learning. It could be a form of procrastination because you use that as an excuse as to why you didn't do what you were supposed to be doing because you were busy learning. So he has this saying that says, learn, do,
Right.
learn, do,
Right.
learn, do, and just be careful and be aware. And I got to thinking about that because, like I say, I love learning. And so I have to reel myself in, and I've picked Fridays as my learn day. So Friday's the day that I set aside where I can do all the trainings, all the learning that I need to learn outside of different workshops that I'm participating in. We got one coming up next week on Facebook ads. So I'll be learning about Facebook ads next week. And that's part of my business plan for 2025 on helping my audience learn how to set up an email auto responding uh, email sequence and start building an email list and build up their leads and then be able to move into advertising to promote that program that I'm working on. So it's all part of my game plan. And so there is time for learning. We do definitely need to be doing that. But if we're just constantly learning and not doing, yeah, we need to rethink that one. So anything else from anyone tonight you want to bring up or say or no? All right.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being here, everybody. I appreciate you. And the recording will be up in that group. I have a Facebook group, Rodney. It's group Coachathon. I'll add you to it, invite you to it, and the replays go
Okay.
and also on YouTube. So, but it'll be up there in a couple of days. So we shall see you all next month. I'm excited
See you
about
all next
next
week.
month. So I hope that you'll invite people to come. I was telling Rodney about it. I'm going to be reading The One Thing, which is a very interesting book that was brought to my attention that I really need to pay attention to
Hmm.
as we're learning how to get ourselves organized and focused. I think it's going to be incredible content. I'm going to read the book, do a book summary, and then I'm going to do a presentation and deliver it in December. And hopefully that will help many of us wrap our brains around getting ourselves organized in a peaceful manner instead of thinking we're organized and yet we're still exhausted, burned out, and like a hamster on a wheel, just spinning our wheels and not getting any momentum, not getting any quantum leaps. And hopefully it'll help bring some clarity to some people because of the way they think, because not everybody thinks the same. But so far, I found it's quite interesting. I can see his point and where it would fit and help a lot of people. So I hope to see you next month and let people know, invite people. Okay. All right. Bye,
Take
everybody,
care. Be
guys.
safe.
Mwah.
Bye.